Okay, welcome to the September meeting of the Columbus Astronomical Society. Okay, so we're going to get started here. We got an interesting discussion tonight. I guess we'll start with our host. Any announcements you've got?
Good evening, I'm Don Stevens. I'm the director of Perkins Observatory, your host here. And first thing I want to talk about is we have public programs here on Friday nights. Most Friday nights throughout the year, they start at 8 p.m. And we do like to have volunteers from the club to come out and set up their telescopes and show the folks that show up for the programs things through their telescopes. It adds a lot to the programs to have a lot of telescopes out there, and it's often a good time for everybody involved, including the volunteers. So if you got something or nothing to do on a Friday night and you want to come out and help out with the program, that's always appreciated. You don't have to be a telescope expert. We can, stick you with somebody who kind of knows what they're doing, and they can help you out and get you started. And just share your enthusiasm with folks. And if you don't have a telescope, we have telescopes we can set out there for you to use. So yeah, and like I said, those are most Friday nights. Next Friday, the weather cooperates for those that come and volunteer. That night after the program, where's Mark?
Right here.
Oh, there. What time does it start?
It's around 1 a.m.
Right. 1 a.m. There's something pretty unique, and be the last time I'll be able to see it for about 15 or so years. And that is a shadow transit on Saturn by its big moon, Titan. So we just went through what's called ring plane crossing. That's where the rings are essentially edge on relative to us here. And at that time, the geometry is such that shadows of the moons can be cast onto the planet's cloud tops. And the last good one, I should say, visible in this cycle is going to be next Friday. Actually, it's technically Saturday morning, again about 1 a.m. And for the folks coming to volunteer, you'd be welcome to stick around, and we'll try to check it out through the Shotland, the big telescope upstairs. So come out and volunteer, and then you can come watch that transit, all right? Be my kind of special reward to the club members who help volunteer. And if you're interested for sure, send me an email this week. Let me know you're going to be here. Kind of know how many people we're going to have as well. And I'll post to the club list that Friday afternoon calling for volunteers as well. Or you can let me know at that time. So again, thanks a lot for those that have volunteered. There's a few faces here I see for folks that show up pretty regularly, help out, and it's appreciated. Thanks a lot.
Okay,
We have
Joe.
3 guests this evening. I'm sure I'm going to say these names wrong, so please forgive me. Arvind and his son Aradhya. Am I saying it right? I'm not going to attempt the last name, okay? But they're sitting right there next to Wilkie. Welcome. And then there's Michelle in the back there. I'd like to welcome the 3 of you to our meeting tonight. Welcome.
Okay. What do you got?
You guys know me as the director of the John Glenn Astronomy Park and your vice president of this club. As far as the vice presidency goes, next month we will have Alex as our speaker. He did a great talk on weather earlier in the year. We have not yet discussed what your topic will be, so that will be coming up in the prime focus very soon.
Early started space race, looking at the National Advisory Committee on Aeronautics and how it came NASA.
Awesome, thank you. The John Glenn Astronomy Park will be continuing to do its regular Friday and Saturday night programs on clear nights through the weekend before Thanksgiving. That's when we're going to take our winter break. As you guys know, the weather in Ohio from late November to March is pretty miserable for astronomy. We would be canceling our programs more often than we would actually be having them, so we take a break during that time period. I want to thank everybody for showing up to the concert program that we had. That was an amazing success. I mean, we had so many volunteers, we didn't have enough tasks to give them. So thank you guys for coming out when you did. The following weekend, we had everybody out from the CAS to just have a regular observing night. That was also a lot of fun, and I appreciate the fact that even though it was the CAS observing night, you guys also helped out with the program. I want to thank in particular Mark Peter, who was a one-man powerhouse in terms of doing his programs. He sets up a whole set of instruments and things like that, and is really great at showing the people the views through them. So that's pretty much what I have. Thank you guys. Keep coming out on Fridays and Saturdays. If you haven't ever been down there, it's really nice. It's very dark. Last night we were up until very, very early in the morning looking at Saturn and the moon with amazing seeing. That transit will actually be happening at a time when it is in view of our giant 28-inch telescope, and by about that time in the evening, the scope has cooled down a lot, and the seeing is very good at that hour. We will be looking at it through the 28-inch, and the views are really good through the 28-inch. It's actually a very good view. So if you want to come out to that, that would be awesome. So thanks. Charles? Oh, Dean. Oh, okay. Yeah, since I'm the vice president, I get to introduce our speaker. Our speaker tonight is Dean Regas. You're not a professor or anything like that. Nah, okay. The way I would describe him is now your job is basically itinerant public outreach astronomer type thing. You were affiliated with the Cincinnati Observatory for 23 years, okay? And you have a podcast. And basically, you kind of go around doing astronomical lectures. Did one earlier today in Bexley, and now we get to enjoy that this evening. He is talking tonight on Archaeoastronomy, which is something that I'm very interested in, because I am very interested in how people figured out the movement of the heavens before the age of the telescope. And so I'm looking forward to this talk. So thank you guys. Give it up for Dean Regas. Oh, by the way, he has books. Sorry to interrupt your clapping. He has books to sign if you'd like that. So thank you. Okay.
Thanks. I should clip it probably. Well, good evening, everybody. Thanks for having me here. This is great to be here at the Perkins Observatory and talking for the Columbus Astronomical Society. I have been an astronomer for a long time. I've done astronomy for about 27 years. And I started, my first thing I did was, well, I should back up even farther. I'm a Columbusite. I mean, I forgot, I should have led with that. I'm sorry, I understand. I grew up in Columbus. I lived on the east side of Columbus, and then went to St. Charles High School. Studied no astronomy whatsoever. Columbus didn't teach me any astronomy, because I didn't know about this place until after I went down to Cincinnati. I went to Cincinnati to go to school at Xavier, and that's where I found astronomy as a kind of third job, basically. And so I started working as a planetarium operator for the Cincinnati parks down there, and then was the astronomer at the Cincinnati Observatory from 2000 to 2023. And so, but I love old historic observatories. I assume you all do too, or you wouldn't be in this room. Historic observatories are such an incredible sight. The Cincinnati Observatory has the oldest working refractor in the country, basically, and that got me just so hooked on historic observatories. So I now travel around the country visiting as many historic observatories as possible. So in the month of July, I did a tour from Cincinnati to South Dakota and back, and visited 9 historic observatories. It was awesome. There's some in Greencastle, Indiana. There was Yerkes. There was the Madison, in Madison, Wisconsin, they have one. I went to one in a prison. In South Dakota, they have an observatory in a prison. They let me in and out. So it was good. So, in fact, I texted my parents and I said, going to prison today, I'll text you when I get out. And so I love historic observatories, and so I'm hoping that I can get a little tour later. Okay, good. Okay, all right, that's good. That's all right. We're in good shape. Because I want to see all the stuff that you guys have here too. I basically, my expertise is in observational astronomy, historic astronomy also, and I like to look back at the way ancients looked at the sky, because that's how I learned, basically. I learned from the basics. I learned from using old Starry Night software, planetarium, and a 4.5-inch reflecting telescope on a very terrible mount. And that's how I learned. And so I was like thinking, how did people wrap their brain around the sky? And so that's pretty much what I do all the time. I guess I'm known as a popularizer of astronomy. Some of you may recognize me from my longtime stint as the PBS co-host of Stargazers. This was on WSU at the convenient hour of 1 a.m. So if you don't recognize me, I'm not offended. But they'd show this, and then the screen would go blank because it's the end of the broadcast day. That's how much they thought of the show. But it was me and my buddy James Albury. We did this show for 9 years. We took over from the great Jack Horkheimer after he passed away. So we did that show for a long period of time. And so that was really a lot of fun to do. Now I do a podcast. It's called Looking Up. I interview guests from all around the astronomy world, and we have new episodes every 2 weeks where I interview authors and astronauts. And this week's episode, it's not an astronaut or an astronomer or a reasonable person. I interviewed a guy named Thomas Lennon. He is an actor who you may recognize as the police chief from Reno 911. The guy with the short shorts. Anyway, we have a lot of fun with the show. So wherever you get your podcasts, check that out. And I'm the author of 7 books, including 100 Things to See in the Night Sky, 1,000 Facts About Space, How to Teach Grown-Ups About Pluto, which, hold on for a second. I got to check my audience here. How many of you are still mad about what we did to Pluto? Wait a second. I thought this was an educated group here. You're still holding a grudge 19 years later? Yeah, that's what I thought. So I wrote this kids' book for the kids with their damaged adults. This is the book for the kids to walk their traumatized grown-ups through the loss of a planet. And to hopefully move you, the 5 stages of grief are illustrated in the book. So you can see where you are along the progression, and we're hoping to get you to acceptance at some point. But anyway, as you can tell, I have a little bit of fun with this topic. And then I have a new book called All About Orion. It's a book done in conjunction with a publisher in Cincinnati that's the largest Braille publisher in the world. And this is one of their first books that they've actually made instead of reproduced. So it's a tactile astronomy book where you can touch and feel the constellations, and there's even a full Braille version also. So that one, it's pretty cool to work on that one too. So, we're going to dive into the field of archaeoastronomy, and we're going to take us way back to the earliest science basically done in the whole world. And I always like to say, astronomy was the first science. You all would agree with that, right? I mean, this is what people would do, is they notice patterns up in the sky. That was something that was just inherent all around the world. People did the same thing. And now, this is the part where I'm going to speculate. I hope this is okay. I'm going to recreate the birth of science. This is what happened. This is what I believe happened, is you have 2 farmers out in their field. They're coming back at night. One farmer says to the other, "I'll bet you one goat that a blue star comes up over that tree in the next 10 minutes. Never mind they didn't know what a minute was, but let's just forget about that. The other guy's like, what? The stars do what they want. You can't predict what the stars do, and he takes the bet. 10 minutes later, blue star comes up over the tree. That is the birth of science, because the sky was the perfect laboratory. You could see patterns happening over and over again. And so actually, this is two things that were born: science and gambling, a subset of science. Or it should be. Probabilities. Yeah, probability. Yeah, I guess that'd be better. Probabilities. Yeah. But I think this is how it started, because everybody around the world did this. Everybody. No matter what, if you were a civilization, if you were a civilized country, you had an astronomer and you built stuff for astronomy. And in some cases, these were the biggest projects a whole society made. And so we're going to run through a few of them. We're going to go all around the world a little bit. But the other thing, as a historian, I don't know if you guys ever get this impression, but do you sometimes get the feeling like historians teach you, the farther back in time you go, the stupider people got? That kind of thing? Before them, Well, I would say that while our total knowledge of astronomy has increased exponentially, I would say the astronomical knowledge of the average U.S. citizen would lose to the average Greek citizen. Never mind that even the ancient Greeks knew the earth was round, but we're not going on that topic. We're not going on that topic. But I think that it's because it was so part of their daily lives. They were outside so much that the cycles of the heavens told them what to do in a lot of ways. When to plant, when to hunt, when the river was going to flood, all these kind of things. If you knew your astronomy knowledge, you were going to do better. And so that's what I think, is that people were a little bit more into it. So now I'm not going to cover every archaeoastronomy site around, and so I am definitely going to be picking and choosing. And so I apologize if I don't pick your favorite one. Most of the ones I'm showing are the ones either I've been to or I just think are really cool. And so we're going to go to Egypt. We're going to go to Chichen Itza in Mexico. We're going to go to Stonehenge. So we're going to kind of fly around to these places, but quite a few other ones as we go. So the dates that were marked seems to be around the world were these four important dates that we still kind of carry on today. And so these four, the way that they celebrated or marked these four dates around civilizations was so creative and so different. So we want to remember, how would they mark these things? What is happening on these things? And so it's mostly where the sun is rising and setting. That's what they would notice. And maybe some of you that have lived in the same house for years and years and years, notice the sun coming through a certain window at a certain time of year. I had this apartment where the sun would come through the window, through this closed doors keyhole, and down onto the floor every December 9th. Cool. But you notice those things. You're like, yeah, it's December 9th. Oh, yeah. So this is the thing. How would they mark those four dates? But before we do that, we're going to go really old school. We're going to go to France. We're going to go to Lascaux. Because for my understanding, there's been some other little artifacts that have been found that have been kind of mysterious. But for me, this is the oldest of the old. This is the oldest kind of bona fide one, in my opinion, as an archaeoastronomy site. It's not measuring dates, but it is measuring something very important. And in this, you climb down to this cave, and there's this wall of bulls, basically, in the Hall of the Bulls. And we see this one bull especially that's positioned in a very unique way. It's got horns up and to the left. It's got a big eye. It's got spots in its face. It's got 7 dots above the shoulder. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then 6, 7. The 2 are touching. Now, this was dated to about 15,000 BC. So somebody crawled down there, painted this on the wall 17,000 years ago. Why? Because it's cool. Sure. But why this way, and is there some significance? And archaeologists and astronomers are in agreement that that is that. It is the first star chart ever made. Why they say that is, well, here is the constellation we still call Taurus the Bull today. Horns going out to the left. Big star, that's the star Aldebaran for the eye. Stars in the face, that's the Hyades star cluster, visible to the naked eye from a dark site. And then above the shoulders, 7 stars, 5 in a cup, and 2 that are touching. That's the 7 Sisters star cluster. That's what they look like to the naked eye, if you had a good eye. Now, no light pollution. They didn't have glasses, but that's fine. Now, you can be skeptical. I am somewhat skeptical. I mean, sure, it looks like it. And of course, the artist didn't sign his name or her name and say, oh, my name is Ugg, I paint bull on cave, bull's supposed to be bull in sky. True. But if archaeologists who are really, they don't like us very much. They don't like astronomers because but they admitted this was an archaeoastronomy site. So that's what I think is this connection that they saw the same stars. The stars have moved, but not enough to actually change the shape. So they are seeing the same, they saw the same constellations we see. That's our connection to this, which is so cool. So let's go to the Great Pyramid of Giza and check out these giant, humongous structures that took, so long to build these things. Most of the pyramids are astronomical in that they are laid out to the cardinal directions. The 4 sides of the pyramid are the 4 directions, north, south, east, west. One of the Great Pyramids, has a shaft built into it that whoever's in there gets their treatment. They have their window going out to their favorite star. They build in shafts into the pyramids so the dead can look out and see their star through this is the most expensive window ever made. And so that is crazy, isn't it? That's the amount of detail for that is crazy. Now let's go to the Yucatan Peninsula and Chichen Itza. Another pyramid. Look at that. We're on opposite sides of the world, similar ideas. This pyramid's north, south, east, west, but this one's got some added bonus features. Has anybody been to the site? It's really pretty cool because you got these very steep steps, and they used to let people walk up there until so many people would fall down those steps. So you can't walk up there anymore. But what we've got is stuff done in a really cool symbolic way. Is you have 4 stairwells on the north, south, east, and west side. Each stairwell has 91 steps. Anybody see where I'm going with that? 91 times 4 is 364. How many days are there in a year? 365, because they put a step on the top up here too. So the final step is up there into the inner temple. So 365 steps on this thing. That's pretty good. All right, sure. But on the east-west stairwells, they have these really intricately carved serpent heads. These things are so cool to see. And if you're on that site, on the spring equinox or fall equinox, the sunlight comes in at sunrise and hits the corners of the buildings and casts a shadow along the serpent. Only on the equinoxes. So there's the serpent head in light, and you get a serpent on there. This is what's called in the ancient world showing off. And what this is doing is we know the sun's God or a deity or outside of, but we can make it go where we want it to. This was power to tell where the sun to go, and the sun is powerless to disobey. This was the high time of astronomers when we were the intermediaries. I mean, this was talk about going to astronomers' heads. This was cool stuff. And that's what all sundials basically do. That's what all of these, am I messing up the camera by moving up and out? This is what all sundials are trying to do. This is all kind of ways of measuring this, is to capture the sun, and you can, if you can predict that, you can predict a lot of other things. All right, well this one I'm only throwing in there because I went there. The Nazca Lines in Peru. This is an iffy archaeoastronomy site, I have to say. This is these lines that were placed by some culture for some reason at some time in the desert. When you fly over them, they look like these straight lines coming out of places. And there's some evidence that if you're standing there, you see certain stars rising in these directions. That's okay, I guess. Here's another one. But it's really mysterious as to who made these. You can't tell anything from the ground what they look like. Especially, it gets more fascinating when you see how intricate and how long these things are. So basically what they did was they took all the bright colored rocks and all the dark colored rocks and sifted them. They put dark colored rocks in a line and light colored rocks next to those, and they stand out. And from above, some of them look like that. You got these creatures. You got a thunderbird over there, spider, monkey. I mean, I was standing right there. It doesn't look like anything. It looks like nothing. You can only see this from above. And here's the real suspicious one. It's called the astronauts. Because the question is, who were they making the pictures for? And you all know the answer, right? Aliens. At least that's what the tour guide told me. We're not sure exactly what's going on with this. I just throw this out for you to have some fun. You can go on the internet and search and see all the conspiracies about this. But yeah, I'm not completely sold as this being really, really old or really, really astronomical. But I went there, so I threw it in there. While I was there, this is why I was really there. The Nazca Lines were kind of an aside. I wanted to go to Machu Picchu. And so this was the summer residency for the elite. They would go up there to the mountaintop to get away from the summer heat. And so they made this city in the clouds, basically, on the top of this mountain. It's an unbelievable spot to go. Because it's just like so hard to access, and the place is really gorgeous. But they have all these buildings that were, they've been excavating. So this dates back, I think, to the early second millennium. But there's one, out of all the buildings, there's only one with a curved wall to it. All of them are kind of angular, but this one's the only one that has a curved wall to it. And so this was nicknamed the Temple of the Sun because there's this window where the sun would come up over that mountain and on the solstice nestle right against this carved rock. And here it is from the outside, and it was thought that they may even put like some kind of lattice over that window to make like crosshairs as it's coming in there so you can see exact timing and that kind of thing. Kind of cool. The only one with a round window was observing the sun. But this is the rock that I wanted to see the most. This was my prized thing that I read about this, and I was like, this I gotta see. It's only about this big. It's buried in the ground. And this is what it looked like when I was there because it rained. As you can see, nobody else seems to care about this rock. They used to have a fence around it, then nobody cared, so they took the fence down because nobody looked at it. You'd trip over it if you didn't notice it. But this is called the Southern Cross Stone because the Southern Cross is the most observable constellation in the southern sky. We're in the southern hemisphere, so that was the most prominent constellation that's up there. And this was purported to be carved to be an imitation of the Southern Cross. And I did the measurements. The distance between these are the 4 stars, 1, 2, 3, 4. Pretty good, pretty spot on. This also points due south, so it's like a sundial gnomon pointing due south on this. And if you were to put your cheek on this stone and look up that angle, that is the angle, the highest elevation that the Southern Cross gets in the sky. Cool. Some artist made that. And he probably didn't get paid that much for it either, I'm sure. But I got to see it. That was really cool. And so it makes me think, like, how many of things like that were here, were somewhere around, and have been lost completely to time? Little stuff like that. Well, let's go to Stonehenge next, because I think this is the most famous of all the archaeoastronomy sites. So we're going here to southern England, and here it is from up above. So this is one that I have not been to in person, but everybody says it's smaller than you think it's going to be. Has anybody been to it? Is that correct? Smaller than you think it was?
It's reasonably sized.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, the stones were the way that they were measuring the rising of the sun at certain times of year. Venus is also, there's a cycle of Venus that's associated with this. But it's not like that was the first draft. This is the site from up above. And so the first thing they did was make a mound. So they made a mound here, and with openings in the mound where the sunlight could come through, like the recesses in the mound. So you could tell, all right, there's a solstice sunrise, there's an equinox sunrise, that kind of thing. Then the next iteration was they put in posts, and you can see the remnants of the posts there. Now, as a student of archaeoastronomy, posts are perfect. They will tell you everything. You put the posts equidistant away from each other, around 360 degrees, you got some great markers. These people were bored with posts. They were like, we're tired of posts, we want stones. And so the stones were the third part. When I would have told them, stick with the posts. But no, they had to go with the stones. And this is what we found as historians, is the building of the stone part is so ridiculous that it boggles the mind of, if there's any civil engineers, any bureaucrats, any leaders of any group, this story will baffle you, because this is what happened. The chieftain got everybody together, and they said, hey guys, I think we should build a calendar. What do you think? Yeah, calendar, great. I know we built the one out of the mounds before. We like the mounds, right? Yeah, we like the mounds. And we built the ones out of the posts. We like the posts. Yeah, we like the posts. But the posts are kind of rotten, so I think we should make some out of stones. Like, yeah, stones, let's do it. And like, okay, so this is what we're going to do. There's a quarry, it's about 19 miles away. We're going to cut the stones there. They're about like several ton blocks. So we're going to cut the several ton blocks over there. Then we're going to drag them up the hill one by one. It's a little bit uphill, 19 miles, no big deal. We'll drag them up here, and we'll get the one, we'll set it up right somehow. We'll like teeter it up there into a hole, post it in there. Then go cut another 29 of those things, and we'll drag them all up one by one, set them around the circle. Then we're going to get some smaller ones we're going to cut in another place. We're going to put those on top of the 30, and then we're gonna get some others. Remember those ones we got, like that were shipped from continental Europe and North Africa? We're gonna put those around, scatter them around. What do you think, guys? They're like, can't we do the posts? Let's do the posts. They're working great. They're working great. We know where the quarry site is. We know where they dug them. We know where these stones came from. We don't know how they got them there. You can't drag these stones 19 miles unless you're motivated somehow. And I love watching the History Channel recreations, because what they usually do with the History Channel recreations is they cut a concrete slab and they put it on wheels, and then they tie ropes around it, and then they get 50 hooligans from the pub, and they're like, drag it 10 feet. They're like, yeah, we did it. This is how they did it. I'm like, no, it's not. They did not do it that way. It's unbelievable. It's unfathomable how they did this. It had to have taken forever. And yet here it is. And so hats off to them for making it out of stones, because where are the posts? Rotten. And the stones are still there. I still would have done posts, but that's me. I guess I might have been kicked out of the society for the posts. I don't know. Yeah, easy to replace, I would say. But yeah, anyway, I would have got voted out of the Stonehenge Club. So yeah, it's incredible. Yeah, so they have these stones, and I can't remember where these original stones came from, but it was from some very far away. Like, I'm thinking it's like somewhere in the Mediterranean, all the way to England. So there was this internal trade that was going on that also is baffling to us. Like, we would think that people just stayed in their own homes and they didn't go anywhere, but there was this interaction of ideas and trade, the likes of which it's hard to imagine. So there it is today. Yeah, they probably need to fix that up a little bit. I don't know, but and so yeah, still the sun comes through there on the winter solstice on some of the rocks. So it's hard to get a ticket to that, but. Well, and then the other mystery is the date. We're not even sure when this was done. 3000 BC, 2000 BC, somewhere around there. We don't even know exactly. So I made boxhenge when I was at the Cincinnati Observatory. We got a lot of Orion telescopes one year, and we just made a boxhenge out of it. First rain took that one out, but anyway. Now, if we want to go to an older site, so Stonehenge gets all the press because it's kind of cool, but New Grange in Ireland is actually older. And so this was a giant mound where they built a shaft inside the mound. So you can see the entrance of the mound right there, going all the way back. It has these really cool carved rocks on the outside, and this really neat opening that was really well done. And so the sunlight will come down through that, hit the back of the cave, essentially, the man-made cave, every winter solstice. So they built that for one day. That's it. Cool.
How long is that tunnel?
That I don't know. It's hard to tell from this. I'd say maybe the whole thing's 50 feet across. Maybe, it's hard to tell.
It's more than 50 feet.
More than 50 feet?
Yeah, it's probably 150 feet.
Did they let you go inside?
No, you can go up to the door.
Ah, okay. Well, let's just go right up the street there to Loughcrew Cairns. This one was for the equinox. So you go to New Grange for the solstice, and you go up to Loughcrew for the equinoxes. Sunlight comes in, hits this really cool carved rock at the back on the equinoxes. So you got those all covered. So, I mean, this is like, we've gone around the world and everybody's doing something.
Yeah.
Well, let's get a little closer to us. Now, Fort Ancient is right down I-71, almost about 2/3 of the way to Cincinnati. How many people have been to Fort Ancient? I put Fort Ancient right up with all these other things. Fort Ancient is an unbelievable archaeological site. The sheer engineering to build Fort Ancient is up there as one of the greatest achievements, I think. And because of what it is, now of course when the explorers came through, they're like, hey, it looks like a fort. They built up these mounds on the top of the ridge there, all around there. And so there's where it is. This is the original engineering sketch from the 1840s when they went out there. This was part of a project it was one of the first commissioned Smithsonian projects to map the mounds of the Ohio Valley. That's how cool Ohio Valley was, is there were mounds all over the place. And so there's this section up here at the top. It's obviously not a fort, because why would you put 67 openings into your fort? And why would some of them even have paving stones in the notches? As in, welcome, come on in. Now, there's a very, very small amount of artifacts within this large area. So it was not a village. In fact, they've hardly found anything within the confines of this. This was thought to be primarily a ceremonial site, that people take pilgrimages to this spot to help build this thing. Why? There's only one thing that it does that we know of. It's not a good fort, but it's a good time-telling device. And if you're up here, you can stand on one spot and see the sunrise through the notches of the mounds, summer solstice, equinox, winter solstice. Again, I would have gone with posts, but still. Because the estimated construction time of this thing was 300 years. People worked on this for 300 years. That's insane. I built the posts in 2 days, no problem. But this was the thing that they did. This was something that, I don't know how they got it started or how they ended it, how they knew they were done. But it's incredible. And you can still go there and see the sunrises through the notches. It's very cool.
Compared to some of the construction projects here in the United States.
Yeah. I mean, they do seem to be, the 7170 intersection seems to always have something. How many years have they been working on that construction?
Like to be done in 2030s.
Oh, good, yeah. Yeah. It's like that. So now there are mounds all around the Ohio Valley. This was Mound Central, basically. So we've got these Paint Creek earthworks. These are around Dayton and Chillicothe, these mounds that were all over the place. We got the Great Serpent Mound, of course, which is probably one of the more famous ones. This is about, I don't know, maybe an hour and a half from here, maybe something like that. And so this is as calendars go, this is elegant, this is slick. Because you got this 1/4 mile long coil snake, and the time-telling device on this is just cool. Do you see it? It's in the coils. 1, 2, 3. Stand here, the sun will rise over this coil on the winter solstice. Sun rises over this coil on the equinoxes. Sun rises over this coil on the summer solstice. Not bad. Don't have to use 300 years to build this. Pretty cool. There's some other stuff that's a little bit out there in that if you were to connect the dots of the tail through the center of the egg that the thing is eating, supposedly, that's due north. And this was constructed at a time, a long time ago, where the North Star wasn't the North Star, but a star near the constellation Draco the Dragon was the North Star. And so some go speculate that this is Draco the Dragon. I think that's a little bit of a stretch, but I'll stick with the 3 coils as being the cool thing. But I'll let you think about it. So there it is from up above. This also has the other added trivia feature, as that this is sitting inside of a giant impact crater. There is an impact crater on the site that's, I think, about 7 miles wide that had been debated for a long time and has been only recently confirmed that this crater that's been eroded away was in that spot. And so, of course, everybody's like, well, that's why they built it there. It's like, no, they wouldn't have known about that. It happened a million years before that, but still. Still, interesting thought. These are some other schematics of mounds that were in Ohio. This one was out east of Cincinnati. It's gone, all plowed up. This one, Liberty Township, gone. Ross Township, gone. But this is the kind of stuff that was all around. High Banks Works, mostly gone. Newark, you guys know about this one, right? Newark Earthworks. This was, oh man, that must have looked so cool when this was all in effect. You got this giant circle, you got these parallel lines, you got this circle and octagon up there, this square. Everything's gone except for the great circle, which is still there, and the octagon, which is right there. I don't know if some of you know the story, but I'll tell you a little bit about it. So about 20 years ago or so, we had some students that did a 3D map of the whole area of what it used to look like and what's still there. And so the main part that I want to show you is the circle and octagon, because this is a site that you know, like everybody's doing sunrises and sunsets. These people were like, that's so boring. We're going to do something nerdy. We're going to do something obscure. Nobody's done this, but we're going to make a monument to the northernmost moonrise. Have you ever heard of the northernmost moonrise? This is a thing that happens every 18.6 years, that the moon will rise farther and farther north until the maximum it ever gets north before it starts heading back. And they charted that point. Yeah. So you're standing on the platform, you look through the notch in the mounds here, through that notch and that mounds, and the moonrise will rise here every 18.6 years. Nerds. No, I mean, it's just an obscure cycle. And it's like, really? That's what they were so bored with the sun stuff that they had to move on to the moon stuff. So, great, that sounds good. Yeah, here's the site, well, as of a few years ago, as of less than a year ago. What is that? That is a golf course. The state of Ohio owned it, or owns it. It's kind of complicated, but they couldn't maintain it. They couldn't run it, and so they leased it to a golf club who built a golf course in the mounds. I don't know, it makes me a little uncomfortable. But on the plus side, the mounds are preserved versus the rest of Newark that didn't get preserved the mounds. So the mounds are preserved and people are playing golf on it.
And you know that's a UNESCO site now.
Well, I was getting at the good side. I've been saying the bad news first. Don't give the good stuff out yet. Well, so this happens every 18.6 years. And so, the first one I went to was in 2005, October 22nd, 2005. And I was like, this is great. I can't wait to see this. This is really exciting. They had a big event around Newark. They had like the speakers. They had this thing at this auditorium. I'm not even sure where it was, but it was off-site. And it had Native American groups from all around the country were there. There were like, it was just this great energy. And the sky, it rained all day, but it was supposed to clear up just in time for moonrise. So people were in pretty good spirits. And so what happened after that, I have to relate, is that we're sitting there in the auditorium, a speaker just got done, somebody goes up to the microphone and says, attention, I have some bad news to report. The golf course has canceled the viewing event tonight. And everybody's like, what? It's like, apparently the amount of rain that we've gotten recently, they're afraid of damage to the golf course from all the people walking on the wet ground. So you can imagine what the crowd did and their reaction to that moment, to hearing this. People had been traveling from all around the country to come to this spot, waiting 18.6 years. And this is the outrage got crescendoed until something happened, a magical moment that I have hardly ever witnessed in my life. And that was the realization everybody had at the same exact time, because they got real quiet. And everybody at the same moment thought, yeah, but it's going to be dark. And so everybody got real quiet. And I even remember looking around the room because I know I thought it. And I was like, you thinking that? And they're like, yeah, I'm thinking that. You thinking that? I'm thinking that. Yeah. Everybody thought the same thing at the same time. And so at the end of the thing, we're all like leaving to go to our cars. Like, all right, we'll see you guys in 2025. We're just going to go home now. And so we all went out to our cars. And so I'll go back to the page here. So there was a street right here that was going into the clubhouse where the parking area is, and there were police officers in force stopping people and turning them around. So I saw that and I was like, whoop, I'm going to go down this street, and I'm going to go down this street, and I'm going to park my car right there, and then I'm going to run over here, and I'm going to go through the notch in the mounds, and I'm going to stand right there. Piece of cake. I mean, I'm not going to go down here. That's where the cops are. I'm going to go right by the front. Sounds good. There were so many people there. We saw nobody, but we could hear them. We could smell them. We could see little cigarette things coming every once in a while in the dark. I mean, it was pitch black in this giant golf course. But we saw people, and we knew there were hundreds of people probably in there. And so we were up in the front. Nobody was around the front because, I don't know, I was nervous. I was afraid I was going to get arrested or some stupid thing. I don't know. But anyway, so I was up at the front, and we were up at the front, and but being at the front, you also don't have that long throw, so you couldn't see it right away. But when the time came, the people in the back were like, yeah! I mean, it's just this cheer just erupted in the darkness. And then a couple moments later, it got high enough above the trees to be able to see it right in the notch. And bingo. And then we got the hell out of there real quick. That was it. The golf clubs fell on hard time. They got in big trouble because although they canceled the event, they let their members in, and they broke another rule by drinking on the mounds during the event, and it was photographed and documented. And so public opinion turned against them very quickly, and they had to try to be quiet until just a couple years ago, where they lost their right to the lease, and now is in public hands, as far as I know, because I went again last November. And the sale had not been official, and the handing over was not official at that point in October 2025. So I drove up here, and I was prepared to break the law again. Wait, what's the statute of limitations on trespassing? 19 years, hopefully. So anyway, and I was like prepared. I was like, all right, I know where to park. I know how to do this. And I drove up, and I was like, well, I'll just drive all the way up to the clubhouse to see what happens. And wouldn't you know it, we were allowed to be there. It was very disappointing. They're like, welcome, welcome, come on over. You here for the thing? I was like, yeah. Is this a trap? What are you like? Yeah, we're going to all go watch together. Yeah, they had like speakers and everything. I was like, I don't know if I like this. I kind of liked it. I was ready to break the law again. And now I got to be with a group. Anyway, it was good. It was fun. It worked. And now we can go there anytime we want. So it's really good. So I'm excited. So before the next one in 19 more years, they got to cut down some trees, though, because there are a lot of trees in our way that grew up since the last time, but still. So pretty exciting event. Okay, how am I doing? How's everybody doing? Are we doing okay so far? Are we do a couple more? Yeah. Okay. I guess I'd just like to point out that event, that escapade in Newark, because of the, people think astronomers' lives are boring. It's kind of exciting. But, so last one we'll do, I think this last was in New Mexico, northwestern New Mexico, called Chaco Canyon. And this goes back to this first slide that I had up here. Just this counts as an archaeoastronomy site, because this is a cave painting that was, or petroglyph that was done. Well, they date it to about 1050 AD, give or take. And for astronomers, I don't know why, but 1050 does strike us as something. If I'd be more specific and I say 1054, does 1054 ring a bell to any astronomers? Because to us, that is the date of one of the most famous supernova explosions that ever happened. So this was a star that was previously not visible to the naked eye, and all of a sudden got so bright that it was visible in the daytime for weeks. This was documented all around the world, most notably in the Chinese astronomy records. They had the date of it, they had the brightness of it, they had the location of it, and everything. And so when they dated this to about 1050, the archaeologists are in agreement. This is the supernova demonstrated. This is the moon phase on the day the supernova appeared, as documented in the Chinese records. And this is the signature of the artist. So we got a signature too, pretty good. But the real sight to me was this part. And there's going to be a sad ending to this, but this is the part that got it really on the map, was that this was the most obscure calendar probably found in all the archaeoastronomy sites. It's 3 slabs that seem to have fallen off the side of the mesa. Maybe fell off the side of the mesa, but on the back wall here, behind the 3 slabs, there was a spiral carved into the rock. Somebody carved a spiral in rock, which, number one, remember back in Ireland, spirals carved into stuff. This is in New Mexico. Interesting. But otherwise, nobody really thought much anything of it. But there was one day that there was a photographer, artist, she was up there eating lunch, leaning against the rock, and she noticed this one shaft of light came right through the spiral. And actually it didn't go up to down, it went down to up, right through the spiral. So there it is right there. They call it the sun dagger. It went right through the center of the spiral and then just faded away. It was about noon, and the date was June 21st. And she's like, summer solstice? Could this be a coincidence? She shared this information with a lot of people. Most people discounted it. They said, come on, you see it right? Because it was, by the time she told somebody, it was a couple days later, it didn't work. So there was pretty much just kind of at least like, I don't know if that works. Well, equinox comes around, does that. 2 shafts of light perfectly bracketing the spiral. And then they come around to summer solstice again, sun dagger right through the center. That's pretty cool. Nobody would have ever noticed that would have happened at that moment. So the bad news is the slabs have shifted, and either from erosion from a storm or people messing with it. I think it's storm was likely a candidate. So it doesn't work anymore. That's what I hear on the street. You can't get access to the site very easily anyway, so it's not like you can get up there and check, but that's what I've heard. So it is kind of sad that it's no longer. But I do have one little extra part that is a little iffy, but still fascinating to think about. And this little bit, I want to see if you all have been paying attention, because I'm going to say this, and you should get chills afterwards. So just, if you feel it, say, woo. If you don't feel it, I understand, but I'm going to add this one little bit of trivia to this alignment of this calendar. And that is, if you were to put your cheek on the spiral, that flat face of rock is pointed in a certain direction. And you know what direction it's pointed at? It's pointed exactly at the northernmost moonrise. Just like the octagon. And if you really want to go crazy and you count the spirals and you count the lines, 18.6. Could be coincidence, but this 18.6 thing, they were communicating with the Ohio Valley. We have stuff where they were traded from place to place. So maybe they're like, hey, that mountain was pretty cool. Let's put it on a rock. Yeah, that's pointing the northernmost moonrise too. Or vice versa. I don't know, but anyway. So I throw those out just to be fun. I don't know how you count 18.6 in a spiral. I also, I also have a little problem with the 18.6 thing because of, it doesn't really work. I understand technically 18.6 is the right, but what they would actually see would be every 19 years. To prove that we did this one October 22nd, 2005. The one we just did was October 21st, 2024. And some of the people that study this are like, yeah, no, it's 18.6. I was like, all right, well, then why are we doing it at 18.6? Why are we doing it at 19? And they're like, well, because the weather's good that day. I was like, yeah, right, and because it works. This is what they would see as every 19 years, in my opinion. But I don't want to get in an argument. I'll pick my battles when I want to on that one. But it is kind of cool to see. And so that's what I think is like, how many of these things were there around? How many things of small stature that might have been lost? We remember a lot of the big ones that are survived, but these little ones, not so much. So if you're ever in Cincinnati and you want to see our version, it's done at this park here by the river called the Theodore M. Berry International Friendship Park. We have this thing called, this was an installation made about 20 some years ago, and it's called the Seven Vessels, and you've got 3 sides here to mark the 3 sunrise spots from summer solstice, equinox, winter solstice. The 3 sunset spots, 1, 2, 3, and then the one in the middle where the sun comes through every day. So it's basically the meridian that it goes through and casts a shadow down there. And it's kind of a cool little park, and you wouldn't notice it too much from that. And so, it's 2003. Wow, that was a long time ago. So the Cincinnati Parks, they commissioned this, and they actually called me and was like, hey, this guy's bringing his 7 vessels to install. Can you double check we're putting them in the right place? And I was like, do you want me to tell you they're in the right place? Even if they're not, they're like, probably, because we already agreed. But if you could confirm it, that would be awesome. And so I was happy to say, yeah, you put them in the right place. I was like, okay, good. So that was cool. And the reason why that's so specific is because each latitude, this angle would be different, depending on what your latitude is. And so that's why you can measure these and say, this is specific for that spot. That's why the octagon only works in Newark. It doesn't work in other places. So that's why this was kind of cool. Yep, so it did work. Yay. Whew. Thank goodness. Oh yeah, there's my old place. There's my old place, the observatory. If you haven't been there, it is pretty cool to be able to see the old telescope. This old wooden telescope is really awesome to see. Thank you guys so much for having me here. I hope you enjoyed the talk here as we flew around the sun a little bit. And I guess, do we have some time for questions, or do we want to do questions, or any thoughts? Everybody feeling good? All right. Well, thank you very much for having me here today. Thank you. A couple of things just to add is that, this is my website, astrodean.com. If you want to follow along with stuff I'm doing, there's all the stuff on there. And then I've also been, I do a monthly online astronomy class, and if you're a member of CAS, you can get access for free. I've been sharing it with you guys, and so I'll continue to do that. So if you're a member of CAS, you can tune into my classes for free, which is kind of fun. We usually get some guests from around the astronomy world too, which reminds me.
Repeat your website.
The website is called astrodean.com. I'll leave it up here at the top too. You can come check it out. And then I'll hang around and answer some questions. If you want to check out my books over here, be happy to, you can browse, and I accept almost all forms of payment. So come on over, check them out. I hope you like them. So thank you again.
Bits of pocket land, you accept that?
What's that? Oh, well,
pocket land.
if it adds up to $20. All right, here, I'll give this back.